Hey, it's Richard from AmboWorks. Today we're going to talk about chiropractic. I've got a great guest here. It's Dr. Micka from Chiropractic. We're going to go over some basics on the importance of chiropractic. This isn't going to be dry. We're not going to be pointing to all the different, this is really cool and everything else. But what I want to do is really explain the importance of maintaining this from a health standpoint, okay, a functional standpoint. As we here in our boot camp training, everything else is all functional training. We deal with a lot of odd objects, all that kind of stuff, which is really great, but you're moving the body in all kinds of different directions, which is actually different than most people live. So most people, they get hurt kind of doing anything. Just their everyday life tends to be a little bit throwing them off because they don't really move around as much. They're not as fit as, they don't have the active jobs and lifestyles and things that they used to. So it becomes kind of a big grind on people in both, in a couple of different ways. And so I'm going to have Dr. Micka talk about the application of chiropractic for just everyday well-being and why it's so important to go through those stages. Because we talked about, from pain to being stable to just straight maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people get confused or they get bummed out. I know chiropractic it's probably like anything, you got good chiropractors, you've got mediocre chiropractors, you got bad chiropractors. Some guys are all into
profession.
And there's some guys that are into the sales aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've found that they tend to just, I'm not gonna call it over-treat, but they tend to really want you there way too much, more than you need.
Yeah.
So my thing is why Dr. Micka works on me. I'm looking for a healer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a guy who's I want you out of pain. I want you to be 100% of function.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to be the primary goal.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I look for. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I do. Yeah. And that's always my goal with the patients that come in. They come in typically in pain, discomfort. Typically, unless they know a lot about chiropractic, a person will not come in just for maintenance, although it does happen. But when a person comes in, they are in a rut. Their bodies have been just experiencing wear and tear for a really long time. And I always equate it to a person will always ask me, well, how did I get in this pain? Why am I feeling this way? And I'll tell them, it's similar to, because they want one instance, what one thing did I do caused this? Why did I bend over to pick up a pencil and my back just was thrown out? And I'll tell them it's really the same thing as going to your dentist and saying, how did I get this cavity? Well, it wasn't just one food. It might be a primary food that you might take in, like soda, that caused that cavity, that contributed to it. But it's always a combination of a lot of things. And so it's the same thing with the spine. The spine takes a lot of wear and tear. Richard and I right now, he's not sitting properly, and I'm not sitting that great either. So there's a lot of wear and tear on our spines just sitting here. And so our backs, even though they're designed to withstand that wear and tear, they break down over time. Just like our teeth, they will break down. Even if you take immaculate care of them, they'll break down over time. So what we do with our teeth is we brush our teeth. We go to the dentist periodically to keep them maintained and keep them healthy. And that's what the chiropractor does with the spine, because what the spine will do is break down prematurely if the tension and the immobility in the spine is left unattended to, and so it'll break down quicker.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I know that because again, we train hard. I've trained hard most of my life. I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy going through that stuff. I enjoy putting my body through some rough things. But what you learn is for guys like me or athletes, or even so, again, every day, you want to stay in the game.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is like, well, I can't, this kind of hurts now, or I can't do this, or my times are down, whether it's in burpees or it's in running or whatever it is, and it's really because that wear and tear.
Mm-hmm.
Realize what you do, but I think what the cool thing is like with a few adjustments, stuff like that, you're like, well, all of a sudden you're getting back up to where you need to be. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take that much to get you back to 100%.
Right. No. Yeah. And basically, what happens is, when a person comes in, chiropractic, it doesn't take long to get rid of the inflammation. Usually, even the worst cases, we get the inflammation out of the area within a couple weeks. And the reason is simple. A very common presentation that I see in the clinic over and over again, the hips will swing one way or the other. So it causes a short leg, in reality, not really a short leg, but it's the equivalent. If you have a high shoulder, one arm is going to go short, one will go long. Same thing happens with the legs here when the hips rotate like this. Well, not only does this happen, but the lumbars will compensate, and you'll compensate all the way on up for that misalignment. But when this happens, you also have to figure all of the muscles that are compromised with this whole scenario. So when the hips are rotated off to one side, if you imagine the muscles are like rubber bands and they shorten on this side and elongate on this side, it creates a lot of dysfunction and wear and tear on those muscles. Now, a person will not feel this misalignment, and that's why a person with severe scoliosis, in their 20s, feels no pain in their spine, because your discs and joints have minimal sensory nerves to them. And if I'm getting too deep here, just cut me off if I get a little too much of an explanation.
If you hear talking.
Yeah, because I can go. Okay, so long story short, what happens is when this is going on here, the muscles, if your muscles are not moving properly, they're not going to be able to lift as much weight or sustain as much abuse in the gym. And so what the chiropractor does is he takes the joints from the alignment from doing this to this. That gets rid of the inflammation quickly, because now all of a sudden those tight muscles are stretched and you have the proper circulation and nerve flow going through them. Same thing with the stretch side. The stretch side is dysfunctional too, and now all of a sudden it's shortened into its proper.
Yeah, a couple things that I had, to my own personal experiences, maybe 15 years ago, working out super hard, doing some heavy duty stuff. I'm doing wide grip pull-ups with 50-pound dumbbells to my legs, man, I'm cranking them out, we're boxing, we're doing all this stuff, and one day I'm in the gym in Chicago, and it just all of a sudden, I'm doing them pull-ups, and sudden, boom, I went, something popped, and I'm like, man, I can't lift my arms up, and I can't turn my head, so my buddy's like, wow, we gotta go see my guy. Your guy, the witch doctor. I go, come on. So we get in the car. I'm paralyzed. I couldn't move. We go, and the guy, he goes, well, I can see. He got me in real quick. Did some really cool stuff. Couple quick, and I can move a little bit. Second visit, I went like 2 days later to come back in 2 days, and got even better. It literally was 3 visits, and I can move. Did a couple more, just get me set, and then he wanted me a couple times a month. But I'm like, I couldn't move. That's enough to freak you out. Like, man, this is really a problem. Couldn't do it, so we did that. And then, say my hip was out, it pulled my hamstring real bad, for like 3.5 years. I can't sprint. I can do a lot of it. I can do squats, I can deadlift, but I can't sprint. It's just the him just killing me. And then, finally, I kind of jumped off a platform in a mud run and into this water like 15 feet. And crawled out of there and then ran 5 more miles just holding the stupid thing, to get it done. But I went one adjustment, the pain went away like that. Pain I had for 4 years almost. Yeah. So your pelvis is up. Yeah. And I stood up and went, it's gone. You mean I've been screwing around for 3.5 years of this? I just had to come in. But I think that's the big thing. So many people have this fear. A lot of people have their whole doctor fear and whatever it is, but from chiropractic, I think it's still so misunderstood. It's come so far since I went to my
first. It's all about education.
Yeah, even in the 80s, I was fighting and stuff. Got out of the Marine Corps, and I was boxing and everything else. We had a chiropractor who would come like once or twice a week to the gym, set up the table in this big storage locker we had, and he'd come and adjust it, just the basics, But they didn't. I know back then when I was training too, they didn't have I would call the level of respect that they do now. They weren't. From insurance standpoints and things like that. I think 20, 25, maybe it was 25 years ago, they weren't getting it. They weren't recognized. But now I think, and I know it's changed, even your education-wise, it's changed so much, but what you guys have to do, you told me it's like 5 years ago, I'm not into that.
8 years.
Yeah, it's so much. It's not, I apprenticed for 6 months or something to learn. It's not like massage therapy. I got my massage therapy certification. It's not like that. I think people don't really understand the high level that you guys are at. It really is. It's really, really impressive. And I've seen clients, to chiropractic all the time, and it's amazing when they come back and how much better they're able to perform. Everything, just from headaches they have, stuff like that. Because we talk a lot about nutrition, which we're doing another. We'll head back and do another one of those too. But that's all part of it. I think when people find out, it's like when you get healthy, you don't realize how sick you were until you get healthy.
And then you forget about it real quick.
Right, and the same thing here. You don't realize what a little bit of misalignment.
And that takes a little bit.
Yeah, it affects everything you do.
Yeah, a lot of people are amazed that we actually adjust babies. I had a baby in on Thursday, and the baby, babies will come in, typically if somebody hears that we can help with their digestion, because babies are known for constipation, my son included. So baby came in and they wanted to know how could I help. And I explained to them what happens with the baby's spine. The baby, I palpated and found that there was some dysfunction in the lumbar spine here. It was rotated off, so it wasn't really severe like my son was when he was born, but it was still enough to pinch off on the nerves that go to the intestines, and so you didn't have that nerve energy, the baby didn't have that nerve energy to push the stool through, constipated. So all I did, I adjusted that area, and I also worked out some other stuff too, and it's just very gentle on a baby. And the next day they came in and they said after a couple hours the baby filled up his diaper. And that's the same thing that would happen to my son too. I'd adjust him, I'd go to the babysitter because he'd be fussy, constipated, and I'd adjust him, leave, go back to work, and the babysitter would be, thinking that I did some voodoo on my son because he filled up his diaper.
Right.
But no, all it is taking pressure off of these nerves, and that's what we do in the adult spine as well.
As long as it doesn't happen to me on my way back from your office.
Yeah, fill up your
I
diaper.
don't want to fill up my diaper on the way back. That's the best adjustment ever. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Well, yeah, I think that's because you work with my kids.
Mhm.
And I've got 6 kids, had them in there, and it makes a difference.
Mhm.
And one of my sons gets a lot of neck tension, a little bit of headache stuff, and it's just a little out of whack.
Yeah, and kids and babies are fun to work on because they don't need a whole lot. They haven't had that lifetime of wear and tear, so it just takes a little bit and then they're good.
Yeah.
But adults, they are constantly in the grind and just wearing down their spine, so they need more, a little bit more care usually.
Right. I mean, I look at my kids. My kids play rough.
Mhm.
4 boys, 2 girls, and and you just see, and again, I know from working out in the gym and doing things what that takes. I see them falling down, stuff falling out of trees. I mean, these kids,
Mhm.
whacking each other and rolling around. It's great. And you go, well, and I love just an occasional, and it's just we do like once a month for an adjustment, just a maintenance thing with them.
Mhm.
Take them in and they'll get adjusted, and that's it, because they don't have any major issues.
Right.
For the most part. But little things, if you can just keep them on that maintenance schedule, that's what I love.
Oh yeah.
That becomes part of their lifestyle, just like
Right.
we do really healthy eating.
Yeah.
So now they just know that's not a foreign thing to them.
Yeah.
Say, well, this is really good. And then if they don't go for 2 months or something,
Mhm.
they may have, not they have issues, but they begin to feel the difference,
Mhm.
which is really cool. I mean, they're
Mhm.
6 years old, 7, 8 years old, and they're realizing that this stuff makes a difference. I think that's like, one of the best ways to educate someone. There's nothing better than, on-the-job training.
Yeah.
And
And
actually
that's usually what makes somebody a believer in chiropractic is the experience.
Right.
They come out of there saying, wow, I didn't know my range of motion in my neck could be that good. I didn't even know it was decreased. And
Right.
now I can look both ways for cars when I'm driving.
I mean, we see that here, people come in and they don't believe how out of shape they are.
Right, yeah.
You guys would think they are, and again, it's just something you gotta experience something you haven't done.
Mm-hmm.
But this stuff, I just love this stuff because it's so effective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it works quickly
Mm-hmm.
in the scheme of things. And the biggest thing that when we talk about nutrition too, is it treats the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're not treating the symptom. Well, my arm hurts, so here, take these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's not fixing the problem.
Mm-hmm.